Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. However, for today's episode, we're going to take a little bit of a more different approach. See, in addition to learning about how animals live in the wild, today's special animal, we're going to be actually going into the human setting, more specifically, New York City, to discover a creature who has the highest population in living in the city compared to all other cities across the North American continent. Today, we're looking at one of the fastest creatures in the world, another species of raptor, otherwise known as the Peregrine falcon, otherwise known by its Latin name of Falco peregrinus. But if you're ready, I'm ready, let's just begin our flight. Now, as I mentioned, today we're going to look at the human setting as well as their place in nature, so as that way to not get too confused. Now, for this episode, though, we're not going to really talk too much about their evolution, as if you want to learn about, like, in a sense, raptors or bird of prey, their evolution, you can head back over to the bald eagle episode, which premiered last week and the week before. So today, let's look at a little bit about with falcons, though. Now, falcons are thought to have originated somewhere around 10 million years ago, and as time passed, they would rise to now be recognized as 40 different species that we know all over the world today. Now, of course, the peregrine falcon here is truly one of the fastest of all the falcon species. And if you really wanted to learn about a bird who was bent on world domination, it really would be this guy. Peregrine falcons have basically conquered almost every single continent except for the Pacific Islands as well as the South Pole. And here, it is thought that maybe peregrine falcons the species that we know of today, may have originated roughly around 3 million years ago, starting somewhere within the Eurasian or African area. We're just not entirely sure, though. But that's okay for now. We'll just continue on. Let's talk about their habitat as well as their family life. Now, as I've mentioned, peregrine falcons especially are nearly found all over the world. As you can see, they can inhabit many different kinds of habitats. These include valleys, deserts, coastlines, and even the mountainous regions. And of course, because of their high intelligence, they've even managed to make a life for themselves in the city. But now, why are there more falcons living in the city or in cities than maybe those living in nature? Right now, we're not going to exactly go over that this episode. We'll go over that next week. But what I can tell you right now, just to give you a little breath of relief, it is not due to a lack of habitats or loss. So, like I said, thankfully it's not that, but there's other reasons. We'll look into it, though. Now, let's talk about their family life. For starters, by the time they're around 1 to 3 years old, they're ready to begin family life. So, what they do is, when a male is ready to attract a female, they do something that's similar to like that of last week's bald eagle, where they do a kind of courtship dance. And what they do is they fly up higher and higher and higher until at a certain point they drop and lock talons. And sometimes there's even been some sightings where male will pass prey that it caught to give to the female while still in flight, as I think as a way as presenting it with a gift, showing that he can help provide for not just for himself, but also maybe for her a bit, as well as for their future eggs. After breeding, the mom will usually lay to anywhere from around 1 to 3 to 4 eggs, and then both mom and dad will incubate the eggs, but usually it's the mom that does the majority of it, while dad is off hunting for food to bring back to both himself as well as his mate. By the time 29 to 33 days have hatched, the eggs themselves hatch, and they're covered in a very downy white feathers, and they continue to grow until at least they are roughly around the chicks themselves are around 42 to 46 days old. By that time, they begin to learn exactly how to fly and then take off to the skies to establish their own territories. And so, kind of similar to bald eagles, they will return to the same area to lay their eggs for time and time again for as long as they live. And so they'll only mate with each other for life until one or the other dies, and then they go off to find a new mate. Now, let's talk about their diet as well as their special hunting strategy that has gained them world fame. Now, as we know, and I would like to give you all a heads up that what you're about to see may be a little bit gruesome and it might be a little intense. So just if you want to skip ahead of this, that's okay. So peregrine falcons, as like bald eagles and hawks and all the other birds of prey, they are predators. They have to hunt and kill other animals to feed themselves. But now, the diets are actually their way of eating, it is amazing. Peregrine falcons, because they live all over the world, nearly all over the world, they are, through studies of what they eat in their different habitats, so like those that maybe live in India, those that are living in Africa, South America, so on and so forth, they have noticed how peregrine falcons eat many different bird species from all over the world, that if it was kind of grouped all together, 1/5 of all bird species in the world is food for a peregrine falcon. Talk about choices on the menu. Now, in the city setting, they are known to be big predators of city pigeons, robins that hang out in the city, crows, and of course, because cities do tend to have a high rodent problem sometimes, some cities praise the falcon as an efficient form of pest control. Now let's talk a little bit about their hunting strategy. First, as they're hunting, what they do is they're flying through the sky, searching around for whatever they can find and catch. When they do see potential prey, they drop. They tuck in their wings and they tuck their feet in and they drop to nearly speeds of up to 200 miles an hour, but not to bite. Not yet. First, what they do is, as soon as they get close to their prey, they all of a sudden put out their feet and talons, which are super sharp, and they strike their prey down, and either some will catch them in the mid-flight or they will slam them down to where they hit the ground and die. And then once they do, they begin to feed. And so sometimes it's even been known that if it's a little too heavy for them, if it's a little too big for them to handle in mid-flight, then they try and push it down to the ground to where they kill them. This isn't pretty, but this is nature. This is how it has to be for them. Now, let's end today's part 1 episode with their influence in human culture. Now, we probably have heard of an ancient art called falconry, which is where any kind of a trained bird of prey, be it a hawk, be it an owl, an eagle, whatever you want, whichever bird that is smart enough to hunt, that also hunts other birds or other animals, they are trained by the humans to bring back food. And this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It's even originally thought to have originated somewhere in ancient Mesopotamia. Now, today, falconry isn't really it's not really to bring any food back to their masters. Today, it would be more like to show how intelligent these birds are and the ancient art. But in today's modern society, some falconers are actually using these birds to scare off geese and other birds at the airport to prevent birds from colliding with the airplanes. Finally, I recently discovered that not just the Nazis of World War II, but even us allies, so the British, the French, and Americans, they were using falcons to relay messages, to capture pigeons that were carrying messages to either one. Unfortunately, they were suffering from being killed by one another for fear that it was one of the enemies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for today. Hit that like and subscribe button, check out my Facebook page, and send me an email if you have questions about peregrine falcons or animals. But until next week with part 2, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.